legs going no, looking back like a bat with an eye patch. All black through the woods with a backpack and a lit match. Spark one time, get the whole city looking like a dark shade of orange when I burn it down. What it is, what it do, whole clique getting live on the talk of the town. Like my city had a mouth and it wouldn't shut up on a hunt for a crown.
Hey, what's up? It's Joel Evan. I'm here with my main man, Owen Monroy. We're here in Walnut Creek at Oxygen Rally. He's gonna show us a thing or two that he does to optimize human performance.
So this is the system that we use at Oxygen Rally, and we've got a switch here that provides a really unique cardio workout experience. And so this switch will take you from altitude to 4 times, more than 4 times the room air oxygen. We're breathing 20.9% right now. This is down to 13%, and this goes up to 90 plus.
So we're saturating the oxygen in someone's blood, and then we're taking it away. We're doing this like back and forth.
Yeah, and if you look into the science of it, it's based in intermittent hypoxic training. Okay. Now this is, the hypoxic is the low oxygen side. And so we'll create a hypoxic event for your desaturation to happen. But the unique thing about this is we have the super oxygen as the side that allows you to recover faster. So you could do intermittent hypoxic training with altitude only. This will allow you to do more rounds and recover quickly because we have the super oxygen. And then in that moment where you get to switch back to super oxygen, you're getting some extra benefits that you wouldn't just recovering on room air.
You wouldn't if you were, and you wouldn't get the same either if you were just doing one or the other, right? If you were just doing hypoxia, or
yeah,
just doing super saturation.
Yeah, so if
it's pretty unique that you're doing both.
Exactly, and you know, one of the most unique things is that the fact that you can go back and forth at a flip of a switch. We don't have to disconnect any hoses. It's in, you know, I was helping you run the session, but you were doing all the switching. Yeah. And so, you know, independently, you can have a moment there from one to the other. And if we were working on a brain protocol, something, you know.
So you have actual protocols, like for brain or?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really emphasize protocols. You know, essentially it's a workout. Protocol seems really like advanced or like really, I don't know, technical for a lot of people. And so for me, it's like, we're gonna work out and we're gonna, you know, see where your capacity is and then also talk about what is the benefit you're seeking.
But I think something to highlight that people may not know is that when you say brain protocol, whether we're saying it or not, is that you're helping people that have TBI or concussions recovering. So when we say brain, I think that's kind of what we're saying. Yeah. I know what you mean, like you don't want to get too technical,
but I mean, it could be recovering from an injury, but it could also be like optimizing your mental state, performance. And so, I mean, if you're just looking to be sharp, or if you're looking to not have an energy crash later in the day, this is a quick way to really boost your cognitive function. Yeah. And so, like, you know, we even have done cognitive panels before and after, and you can see marked differences in how people function. And so, like, I wish I would have had this during college, you know, like on finals week, really just knock out a quick workout and really get that elevated cognitive performance. Yeah. So it's kind of, I mean, like kind of like a nootropic. That's kind of a big talking point. A lot of people are trying different stuff in terms of exercise. This is kind of like a nootropic effect.
This is fantastic. Guys, tune into the video. I just finished a 15-minute workout and got my ass kicked, and Owen breaks down everything that you want to know about this machine and much more.
So, hey, one important thing about this mask is the question a lot of people have. This is a one-way valve, so that the air is going to be delivered from the system to this inflow. It's going to be breathed by the user, and then it exits the same port, but it comes out the outflow. And so the valves here regulate, so you're not breathing into my system, right? So you're breathing out the outflow. So we have this really nice one-way valve that protects for sanitary reasons, but also allows us to, I can see. So go ahead and take a few breaths on this. So as a coach here, I'm able to see how stressed he is. Now take some fast breaths, like, yeah, so he's really stressed right now. And so I can see even more than our measuring devices. I might look at his heart rate. That'll give me some measure of how stressed is Joel right now. But even more than his heart rate, I want to see how fast he's breathing. Because you could be sitting and having a panic attack, right? And be really stressed, but your heart rate might not have reached its peak. Yeah. So heart rate is useful, oxygen saturation is useful, but ultimately the thing that I look at most is your respiratory rate. because that's going to be the most immediate indicator of how much stress you're under.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people are just heart rate zones, and that's a useful observation. But
in terms of like losing weight, right? Is that what you're talking about? Or like
it can be.
Saying, oh, I want to get into this fat burning mode. I need to be at 180 beats or something, stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a really common framework. But the thing about that is, even that, if you didn't sleep very well last night, you could be doing 100 watts on the bike, and normally that's easy for you. But on a given day, you might be at a different heart rate based on a different challenge because you slept poorly or you're just really stressed.
Yeah.
And so your metabolism is going to act very differently day to day based on a lot of different factors. So that's where zone training is a nice guide, but it really is
it's just a guide.
Yeah, it's more dimension. It has more dimensions than that. So, so go ahead and let me turn this on oxygen. And so we're going to fit it there, perfect. And then this is like a pretty hyper adjustable strap, so you're going to have to get it. Okay. Go take a deep breath and blow out. Okay, yeah, this valve is a little stuck. Let me this is when they get cleaned, go ahead again. Give me a harsh breath, like all in one. Okay, you freed it up, you're good. I think. That one side is just getting a little sticky. Oh, now go ahead, blow out. Perfect.
I will say, this is kind of, and I'm not a claustrophobic guy, but it is kind of like, because you feel like your breath is being restricted in a sense.
Yeah, and so there's a little bit of resistance in the mask because you're breathing down a hose, right? So you have to draw, if you look at the ridges on that hose, there's a little bit of resistance as you draw the air in. Okay, so now this hose is actually the easier hose. There's one that's the CPAP hose.
Yeah.
Which is thinner, and that's the one that you definitely used at Bulletproof. And that will have even more resistance. So if I'm trying to do more of a resistance workout, if I want to add that extra challenge, I'll use the thinner hose. And this one's significantly larger.
Now, do you do a lot of nose breathing when you're doing this?
Yeah, I almost do all nose breathing.
That's what I would try to do until I have to use my mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead and sit it down a little bit. Yeah, I want to just make sure that it's... The nice thing about this mask is the silicone, maybe not, yeah, right about there. The nice thing about this mask is we don't have to cinch it down too tight because the silicone flange inside seals pretty well. But we just want to make sure it's giving you the full experience of both environments. Okay. And that should be good right there. So once that's adjusted, that will always fit you. Just snap in and snap out. So normally it doesn't take that long.
Just boom, pop
Yeah,
out.
so you'd grab this and just lift it right off.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sweet.
So the basics are that you're going to have access to two environments. The first will be super oxygen,
and then
which is this up here. So
Okay.
this is full of oxygen between 85 and 95% oxygen. Okay. People often say, hey, breathing pure oxygen. If you look up this technology, people will be like, talk about pure oxygen. It's not pure oxygen. You wouldn't want to be breathing pure oxygen. It's an oxygen mixture. And so it's a higher concentration. And then this bag here, which is a little less deflated or inflated because it refills pretty fast. And so this is the equivalent of 11,000 feet, and we'll turn it up and actually put you a little higher than that. And so the toggle switch is this is altitude, and this is oxygen. And so you're gonna do all the switching.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, you're gonna do all the switching. I always let the
But
client.
you'll tell me.
Yeah, I always let
Okay,
the.
this is the time. Let's
Yeah.
go into the.
And I always let the client do it because, even for liability's sake, it's like I don't want them ever saying like he put me at altitude and so you're always in control. I want people to always have the feeling of, even for, like you said, it's a mask on your face. Getting your heart rate up with the mask on your face is different for a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay.
So I always want them to feel empowered. Like, hey, if you get competitive with yourself, you could put yourself in a little trouble in the sense of like, hey, I got a little bit of a panic attack. And it's like, hey, we're not here to be competitive.
You're only doing this in like 3 minutes. when you're at this?
You could do this for 45 minutes.
Okay.
Because think about it. If you were sitting on the couch
Sure.
up in Tahoe, now that's 6,000 feet, but even at 11,000 feet, if you were sitting on the couch, you'd be like,
No, but I'm working out.
yeah.
So typically people do it for what? How often do you do?
So if you're at altitude, it all depends on how hard you're going and how new you are to it. So when I get on the bike, I start with 10 plus minutes of altitude, but I'm also not going as hard as I can.
Okay.
And so we'll see some people after 1 minute at altitude, even at a modest rate, they start like feeling real air hungry. So we'll do probably, the first one will be about 1.5 minutes. And I'll encourage you to go slow and just kind of feel the edges of like, hey, when is the altitude catching up to my current level of effort? So this will give us an idea of how many watts you're producing.
And then you can also kind of see how I'm doing with the pulse oximeter. That kind of gives
so let's throw those on.
Labels of like, all right, like I think even if he's saying this, like I'm looking at this and I'm worried about this, let's get him back.
Well, we look at this as a reference point, and on your first time, I am not going to like just let you bottom out.
Yeah.
Because again, I've trained triathletes on this, and I'm not a triathlete, so I have some respect for someone who's out there doing Ironmans. But when they start experiencing this, it doesn't matter how fit you are, some of them are really in a habit of overbreathing. So they perform at a high level, but they tend to just overcompensate. And so when you put them in this environment when there's less oxygen in the air, it can have a really visceral, it can trigger like an emotional response.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So one of the ways I talk about it to people is like, hey, a pillow fight's fun until I jam that pillow on your face, and now it's like pure panic. And it might take you a while to recover from being triggered to that, even that I'm not trying to kill you.
Yeah.
So like getting dunked underwater unexpectedly will trigger a survival response. And so we won't go there. That's the extreme. But I always just warn people, don't be self-conscious of like, hey, I need oxygen now, and flipping the switch and then coming back.
Yeah.
So if we look at your readings, you're at 96 and 97, and we're talking a bit.
Is that good? 96, 97, or where?
I mean, healthy should be between
99?
96 to 100. No one really hangs out at 100 all the time.
Just when you're resting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so 95, 97. Okay. So that's on the lower side. This one's kind of going to 95 a few times in a row. So let's actually throw this on.
Oh God.
Now we're set. Actually, flip the switch for me. And go ahead, and I'll let you snug that on.
Now, I had coffee early in the morning. Would that affect my pulse oximeter reading?
It could. I mean, a lot of things will affect it. So on any given day, I'll respond differently to the stress of altitude, just like I would respond differently to the stress of exercise, right? So I always assure people, hey, like this is exercise fundamentally, right? And we're just gonna put an emphasis on the heart and lungs to engage this environment. Okay, so let me just snug these up a little bit. Okay, and go ahead and start spinning. Well, I want to make sure yeah, that's going to be a little high for you. Stand up for me. I want to make sure the hips aren't rocking back and forth. Go ahead. Does that feel pretty comfortable?
That feels good.
Okay, good. So just go nice and steady here. I'm going to start the timer, and we may freelance around this first timers. I usually kind of do it a little bit more free form. But this gives us 2 minutes and 30 seconds of oxygen. You can see you're up at 100, 99, and 100. Your heart rate's just over 100. And most people carry a little higher heart rate their first time because it's like all this new inputs, and so
especially with the mask and I can see that.
And so these masks, like you asked, are designed to breathe in through the nose, out through the nose if you want, or any combination of that. So feel free to breathe however you like. And right now you're breathing from this bag, so you're experiencing more oxygen than you ever have while exercising for sure. So during this time you may feel a little bit, we may even see a little desaturation. So a lot of people, that surprises them, like, hey, you're giving me supplemental oxygen, and we see desaturation. And what that's showing is your body's likely putting this oxygen to use. And so sometimes there's low levels of inflammation that's being relieved even just off the bat. And so we might see deoxygenation events on one or both sides. And so we wear two because your organs aren't perfectly aligned. So your circulation and will differ, and we'll sometimes see different readings on different sides. So I just keep an eye on that. One of the things that people have, people think this is really extreme, but I have 78-year-old clients that come in and train, and I have really aggressive athletes that come in and train. And, this low-level resistance feels pretty easy right now. We put you at altitude, and your heart rate's going to go up without any more effort. No more impact to your joint or muscles than you're doing right now, but we'll get extra heart rate.
Yeah.
And so for people that have had multiple surgeries, they can get the heart rate up to that and get that runner's high from exercise, whereas if they're out pounding the pavement, they don't have the resilience in the joints anymore, or sometimes even the strength to get their heart rate to that level. So you're holding pretty steady here at 199%. And so what that's telling us is that 100% of the hemoglobin in the red blood cells are saturated with oxygen. And so we're going to flip the switch here, and I want you to slow down. We're maybe 70 RPMs right there. Go ahead and flip the switch down, and just notice that the air is going to change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It almost feels like it got hot.
Yeah, it's a little warmer based on how the air is being separated in the generators. And so just nice and steady here, and we'll take a look at how you respond on the pulse oximeters. But as you tune into your body, you'll notice, the response start to happen even before we see it on the pulse oximeter. So we're about 30 seconds in. Usually between 30 and 45 seconds, people really kind of get to feel the effect. And this is a little higher. We're probably at 15,000 feet here. So it's a little more dramatic than I would do for the average first timer. But you said you were up for it, so.
I'm up for it.
Okay, so we're starting to see a little bit. So this is the first time you've been down below 99. Feeling all right so far?
Yeah, I feel good.
You paused.
I mean, I just transitioned a couple breaths
Okay.
off of my nose breathing
Okay.
to mouth breathing, so that's where I was like,
Okay.
uh-oh. That
Okay.
was the shift.
Okay, so we're coming up on a minute and a half. So 20 more seconds if you're comfortable with that, and then go ahead and flip that switch. You're down at 94 on this side, and on this side, what do we got? You're 70 on this side. I don't know if that's a accurate reading, but go ahead and flip the switch here. We'll go a little early just because we don't want to open you up too fast. And now we'll just do 1 minute of oxygen. I'm sure that first breath feels pretty good.
That felt good, yeah.
Yeah. And I usually really emphasize, even if you are in a mouth breathing scenario at altitude, switch back and really try to take that first breath in through the nose. And as soon as we can kind of calm the breathing, and we'll see. So, we went down to 70 on that side. You desaturate pretty well. How many times a week are you working out?
5 to 6, but
Okay.
I'm doing like X3 bar. Pretty much that's it.
Okay.
A little bit of electric stim.
Okay.
I don't do much cardio at all.
Okay.
So,
Well, you're almost fully back in terms of saturation. I'm going to tighten your mask up on this side a little bit because it's sagging. We want to make sure it's held in place. Is that okay?
yeah, feels good.
All right, so you're recovered. You feel all right?
I'm feeling good again.
Okay, go ahead and flip down and take it a little bit smooth here. Just let the altitude do its work. In the warm-ups, I'm always surprised that when I lean on altitude a little bit more and let that just naturally open greater circulation, I feel so much better when I do hit it hard. Like if you were cold and took off on a dead sprint, like up a hill, it wouldn't feel great. But for most people, when you're cold, but if you take the time to warm up the muscles, then it's actually going to feel good to engage your maximum capacity. So the altitude right now is a stimulus, and so if this is your, a cross section of your cardiovascular system, we're encouraging it to open because there's less oxygen in the air. We're sending a pretty potent signal that we got to move more blood in order to deliver the oxygen and the nutrients to your working tissues and vital organs. So we're a minute in and you're already down in the 80s. Like I said, this is a little bit stronger of an air mixture. But if you're feeling like it's catching up to you, even just slowing down, you can just slow down to a really easy cruise. Good. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and flip the switch. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now speed up here for me. Just really flush it through. We have this high oxygen air coming to you. And now back off. Okay, you feeling all right?
I feel great.
Because look at that. So you're down real low, and like
I feel good though.
Yeah. So
and I feel good because I got the oxygen back in me, so I'm feeling like okay.
Yeah. And so this is a pretty extreme response because I'm giving you a strong mixture. I told you this is not like the average mixture that I would give to people, but you said you were up for it. So.
Yeah. No, this is good.
And the reason why we don't go too aggressive too fast is when we vasodilate. You know, that's not just in our major arteries. The capillary beds are getting that signal too, and so metabolic waste that's stored up in those tissues can get flushed out and really create a little bit of a detox effect. And so we won't have you go too hard. We're going to let you. I'm going to pause this. I'm just going to let you recharge here. You're already pretty much resaturated. Just let you just enjoy the oxygen there, and then we'll do a couple rounds of 45 seconds, a little shorter. And what I'm going to do for this, I'm actually going to lighten up the mixture a little bit. This way you'll be able to go harder at altitude here. That one, it's hard to go real hard because the air is pretty thin. So you'll notice a difference when you switch to altitude. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll send you to altitude. Still going to have an effect, but it's going to be a little easier. Essentially, we're lowering your thresholds here by sending you to altitude. It's easier to get that heart rate up, easier to really activate the lungs. And so with 20 seconds left here, when it turns red here, we're going to give it just a brief 5-second effort, and then we're going to do 5 seconds after we flip the switch. Okay, so I'll guide you through it. Just know that an effort's coming. Okay, get ready to go fast and hit it. And switch and keep your tempo. 4, 3, 2, 1, and now we're in recovery. So that's a cycle of what we would do. We might do 5 to 7 rounds of that on a normal session.
I like that.
Okay, and so you can see we didn't drop nearly as low. We're still, anytime we go below 91, you're right at 91, 90 on this side. Anytime we go below 91, we're really getting a significant hypoxic stimulus. So you're at 91, but you're already bouncing back up. We gave you 45-second recovery, so slow down a little bit here. And we'll prepare to start going back to altitude in about 5 seconds. All right, and switch back. And let's just do 3 of these. How many minutes are we at? We're at 10 minutes. Because I want to leave a couple minutes at the end for you to really resaturate. Because we did take you down to, I mean, you were 60s, right?
Yeah. I felt okay, but
yeah.
I'm sure 60 is not good.
No, so here's the thing. People, if you were walking around day to day and you were at 60, there'd be some real problems there. But this is like, it's like saying, hey, if I pick up a deadlift, if I'm going to carry that around all day, that's not good, right?
Yeah.
But as an intermittent stress, that's sending a really potent signal for you to adapt. And so in the short term, your spleen's going to, well, let's focus here. Let's have you go fast for 5 seconds. And switch. Push 3, 2, 1, and recover. So in the short term, your body's going to release red blood cells, more red blood cells into circulation. Your spleen will actually contract and release more red blood cells into circulation to help you perform the way you need to. The longer term effect of repeat exposure to hypoxia, low oxygen environment, is your body's going to build more actually sustain more red blood cells, and they'll actually be larger. So if you look at the studies, it's pretty, so that's going to basically increase your oxygen carrying capacity. So you're back up at 98, feeling all right? I
feel great.
Okay, so we'll take you one more round. So when it hits orange, go ahead and switch down. Because you've done it a few times, usually what I'm encouraging people in the orange is to start building some air hunger. If we were to rate your air hunger 1 to 10, what would it be right now? 10. Okay, so by the end of this 30 seconds, let's have you at a 7, where it's like, hey, this is a significant stress to the heart and lungs. I turned up the resistance here, so that should be easier to achieve. And then when we're in that deficit, we're air hungry, we're going to hit it for 5 seconds just like we did before. Okay, here, let's go fast. And switch and keep your power here. Keep driving through. Move air in through the nose as much as you can and recover. So now we're going to be in recovery. I'm going to throw you on just a cool down. How'd that one feel?
Good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was more challenging, you know?
Yeah, so the warmer you get, the more you'll be able to take advantage of that moment where you're air hungry, and then you can push through. And when you flip the switch and when you have high demand, it's kind of like, you squeeze a sponge ball and put it underwater. You're going to absorb all in one moment, and so that's really, we see you bounce back, your resaturation comes back really fast when we have access. I mean, this is 4 times room air oxygen. Right now I'm breathing 20%, you're breathing 80 plus, 80 to 95. So if you want, in this cool down period, sometimes I encourage people to ramp it up and give me like just a max sprint. Yeah. So you're fully saturated, your blood flow is maximized right now. So if you want to hit it, I'll turn up the resistance. Really get your wattage up. And then when I notice your power start to die off a little bit, I'm just going to dial it down so you can keep pushing, maybe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and recover. So on the all oxygen cool down, usually we do at least 1, but sometimes 2 or 3, because you're feeling good. This, on the oxygen side, really it's going to allow you to produce more power. So if we were looking to develop greater power, we would emphasize the oxygen side a little bit more. If we're working on endurance, we'd emphasize the altitude side a bit more. I mean, if you've heard
longer altitude, but steadier pace.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's oversimplified. There's more nuance to it, but it's a nice way to remember, like oxygen for power, altitude for endurance is kind of a basic framework.
Gotcha.
We don't have to cut it off right there, but that's kind of the 2-minute cool down. You're welcome to keep spinning. Let's see what this one's showing. You're fully back. Let me grab you a towel. Let me know when you want to take the mask off. If you're feeling good, we can strap. Yeah? Okay, so I'll unsnap these ones, and if you want to lift it off the top.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, you got
Honestly, I wouldn't want to do cardio ever again.
Yeah.
Unless I was doing this.
Well, that's the...
Like, I almost feel like it's a waste of my time to do anything other than this.
So,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
I hate cardio too.
When I first got this, it was like 15-minute session. That is the attraction, right?
Yeah.
Like you get this extreme effect, and extreme meaning you get this massive vasodilation, super oxygen. But then once I started doing it more, it kind of, for the first time in my life, it made me interested in like, all right, well, what if I do it a little longer? And I started like, now my standard was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And pretty soon it was like, now I'm doing 30 to 45 up to an hour because I'm interested in how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And so it actually, because of this, it kind of turned me into a little bit, you know, a cyclist in some ways. I get my bike out, I ride up Mount Diablo. And so like that became a thing that I was then interested in doing because I'd never really felt this good while doing cardio.
Yeah.
Like I was always.
Now you want to do cardio because
Yeah.
you're like, I know I'm going to do well. I'm going to do good.
Well, and it feels good.
Yeah.
And it really feels good. So I might do short sessions if I'm looking for like a brain boost of like, hey, like I'm trying to just knock out a workout quick. But also I'll, you know, jump on and do the first 10, 15 minutes at altitude and just feel opened up. Sometimes I'll even be working on an email or something and just at altitude moving. And then once I'm ready to go, it's just like, I really feel ready to go. And sprinting feels so much better when I've got the maximized blood flow. So
Yeah.
that was good.
awesome.
That was good.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Jesus.